Hi, I'm Gwen Volan with the Volan Group at Keller Williams based in Ponte Vedra Beach, and welcome to your April 2026 Ponte Vedra Beach Market Update. If you've been wondering whether now is the time to buy or sell or plan your next move, this update is going to give you clarity around what's really happening in this local market. By the way, my team helps people just like you every single week who want to move or to sell in the Ponte Vedra Beach area, and we'd love to help. The best way to reach out to us is to call or text 904-822-9255, or you can go to our website and book an appointment. So today we're going to break down the numbers. I'll explain exactly what they mean and talk about how you as a buyer or seller should be thinking strategically in today's market. So let's see if I can make this slide switch. There we go. Okay, so the biggest headline this month is Ponte Vedra Beach resilience. The April 2026 data for single-family homes in Ponte Vedra Beach shows a market that is really gaining momentum in pricing and sales volume. Slight seasonal inventory increases, which is normal for the spring. And I'd like to point out that this is a different market from really the rest of Northeast Florida, which is kind of sitting flat to down. You can see here the median sale price for single-family homes in PVB climbed to $1.44 million. That is a 15% increase from March of 2026, and that is 22% higher than April of 2025. What that tells us is demand for the, coastal lifestyle is super strong. Buyers are prioritizing location, quality, and long-term lifestyle, here in Ponte Vedra Beach, I would say, over the rest of the Jacksonville metro area. So those are kind of big numbers. So this slide is looking at year to date, so year over year numbers. So if we look at the first 4 months of 2026 and compare those to the same period in 25, you can see the market strength. Median sales price is up 25.5%. Closed sales are up a little bit at 1.4, so inventory, a ton of extra inventory, and then obviously goes in line with median sales price. I'm not including days on the market here, and it's in part because the data that we get from our MLS is not very good. It's the way they track it, but I will tell you, most of the homes are going under contract within 30 days in Ponte Vedra Beach. If they aren't, as a seller, you may want to look at your price, kind of depending on, obviously, what sort of property you have. If you have a $20 million home, it's going to take longer than 30 days. But if you have something in the average price range and it's not moving, then it means you've probably got a little bit of a pricing problem. So what is fueling, this drive? What's driving our demand? I'd say people, obviously, they want beach, they want golf. We're seeing all of that in our area, so that's strong sense of community that Ponte Vedra Beach gives with your beach lifestyle, whether it's with the golf clubs or the beach clubs. That is really creating a combination for some premium pricing in the area. So this next slide, you see a slight increase in inventory. Definitely, I see this as a seasonal increase, which is completely healthy and normal. I feel like this gives buyers a little bit of a sigh of relief. I know we've had some buyers out there that have been looking, and there are two houses to choose from, and if those aren't the right fit, then they're, kind of waiting or deciding to maybe compromise if they really need to get here. Sellers, you got a little bit more competition. Still need to do all of the things a good seller does to have their property show ready. So I kind of like this new acronym we've created here. I will say, instead of FOMO, which we would have seen, a couple of years ago, we're seeing FOO, which is a fear of overpaying. I definitely see that, even though, sales prices are obviously going up, there's not a whole lot. Buyers are hesitant, they're worried about overpaying, and, there is some pressure. Bottom line, I don't think you're overpaying in Ponte Vedra Beach. There are going to be ebbs and flows, but bottom line, you're always going to go up, and it's because of location. Location is what sells everything. So, So sellers, our market rewards preparation and precision. That's sort of my mantra as part of the Volan Group. Every decision that you make and we make with you really needs to be intentional, down from the pricing strategy to the presentation, photography, how we talk about marketing it, and negotiation. Buyers are paying attention to details with their FOO, but all of the things that we ask you to do, there's a reason, because once people get through the door, this is your opportunity to get your best buyers. So let's talk about mortgage rates. So mortgage rates are obviously still one of the big conversation pieces in the real estate market. Rates are hovering in the mid sixes, and though we're not back down to the ultra low rates we saw a few years ago, we are seeing more stability. In fact, rates are lower than they were during the previous two spring markets. I think this is bringing people back from the sidelines a little bit, realizing they're just not going to go back down to 3. I think as long as we see stability in that, buyers will continue to adapt. When people move into the jumbo range, they're able to get their rates down lower by, depositing money if they're working with a bank. So there are ways to kind of work on those rates. Next slide is really talking about Ponte Vedra Beach in Nocatee, or Ponte Vedra. Just want to point out for those that don't live locally that there is a distinction, and it's important for buyers and sellers to understand it. The markets are just completely different. There is some overlap in the buyers looking, but it's really they're two different kinds of buyers. They're different price points, and how they move into the market is a little bit different. So just be careful when you're looking at market headlines. It's really critical to understand the micro markets that we have here, and hyper-local analysis is critical. Nocatee is still seeing a flat to down cycle. If my memory serves, Nocatee was down 16-ish% last year at the end of the year, and we're still seeing a little bit of a downward trend. It's because there is still new construction. And then there's also a lot of competition in St. Johns County. They're really nice communities with beautiful homes. And if you aren't fixated on living by the beach, then your opportunities open up for the kind of home that you can get. So what do buyers need to know? You have a few more choices. You do have more leverage, I would say, than you did a few years ago. But if you go into a property and it feels right, and your agent is telling you this one's going to go, it's priced well, I wouldn't hesitate for too long. I've been in a couple of situations recently where someone paused and then another buyer swoops in and they're left, back looking again. So planning is key, and really thinking about your needs, moving along with thought and precision when you need to. For sellers, this, I feel like I say this all the time. You've got to prepare your property. I love to build a story around a home. What's the lifestyle like? I think that's a really interesting part of the real estate sales cycle. And, precision pricing, I'm not a fan of overpricing. I have a lot of people that will say, oh, well, we can always go down, but we can't go up. That rarely works to your advantage. Your first buyers that are out are your ready buyers. After that, if they pass, you are dealing with shoppers or people that are really wanting to negotiate your price. So just something to think about. This slide is really just self-serving. Our goal is to make things simple, create clarity, remove stress, and position you for the very best possible outcome. I am very uptight about having systems in my team so that it's a great experience for our buyers and sellers. Big believer in understanding the market, big believer in data. We're also super networked, so we do know a lot of people in the area. Collectively, I don't know, the numbers of years my team has been here, probably 100 and some odd years. So that is it for this month's presentation. Just know if you're considering buying, selling, downsizing, relocating, or just want clarity on your options, my team would love to help. Every situation is truly unique, and coming up with the right strategy can really make a very big difference in timing and outcome for you. Always happy to talk confidentially, and always with zero pressure. The outcome for you is what my team really wants, whether it's with us or someone else. So feel free to call or text me directly at 904-822-9255, or visit Elevate in Ponte Vedra, and you can book an appointment online, and we will see you next month.